What location is the emergency?
I think the ambulance. I just came into a friend's house and I found him dead.
It was a quiet morning in Lansing, Michigan, until everything changed. A single 911 call shattered the silence, turning routine into chaos. When officers arrived, they found a lifeless body, one gunshot wound to the head. But what shocked them wasn't just the brutality of the crime, it was the reason behind the killing. December 14th, 2018, Lansing, Michigan. A frantic 911 call shattered the silence.
What location is the emergency?
I think the ambulance. I just came into a friend's house and I found him dead.
He's beyond help.
He's been like this, it looks like, for a minute.
What makes you think that he's been there for a while?
He's hard. He was shot. Somebody shot him.
It looks like somebody.
Yeah. He's not breathing. He's not moving. He's shot.
Officers rushed to the scene, responding to the urgent call. When officers entered the apartment, they noticed something crucial. There were no signs of forced entry.
Lansing Police, screener, make yourself known. Ready? Watch your step.
Myself and another sergeant went to the back bedroom. The apartment was ransacked.
Okay. They tossed it. They were looking for something. Coming across. He's under here. Yeah. We're gonna lift this.
We observed a subject that appeared to be shot in the head and had other apparent gunshot wounds to the back torso area. He was a black male, appeared to be about 25 to 35. He was laying face down in a pool of blood. The subject was cold to the touch, and there was no signs of life at this time.
After securing the scene, officers began searching for evidence.
Any cartridge cases or anything? Yeah, it's right here. There's one.
So we discovered several shell casings and live rounds on the floor of the apartment that were from two different firearms. So now we're looking at possibly more than one assailant.
Dispatch alerts the officers. The 911 caller is still on scene. He could be a witness, or he could be the suspect. The caller identified himself as Joe, a friend and former roommate of the victim. He appeared shattered, emotional, even cried. But detectives knew grief can be real or a mask.
So who is he? Is he your buddy or? Okay.
When asked to name the victim, he replied, 28-year-old Donovan Barnfield.
Donovan was a good kid, loving. He was a little shy, but once he get to know you, he opened up. He was a giving person, really. He cared a lot about people. He just was a good guy, friend, son, and a father. Finally got to sleep, and the phone had rung a couple times. My sister called me. She said, "What are you doing?" I said, "What's going on?" I said, "Well, you calling this late at night while you ain't sleep?" She said, "They found Donovan dead." I said, what? Any thought in my mind that I would thought that someone would take his life? Why? That night, I said a prayer for him. And I said a prayer for the person who done this. Why?
Officers continued questioning the 911 caller, Joe. He told them he had come that morning to meet Donovan. When he tried to use his key, the door was already unlocked. He stepped inside, calling out for his friend. No response. Then he saw it. Donovan lying in a pool of blood. He immediately called 911. When asked why he had a key, Joe explained he had stayed in the apartment just 2 nights earlier with his girlfriend. Still, detectives weren't sure. Was Joe a witness or something more? So they kept him close as either a suspect or an alibi. As detectives comb through the scene for clues, they make a surprising discovery.
In examining the ballistic evidence in this case, it was found on scene. There was evidence of a .380 caliber weapon and a 9mm caliber weapon as well. There were spent shell casings from a .380, and there was also, I believe, some live rounds from a .380 as well. There were no signs of forced entry, leaving room for the possibility that Donovan knew who shot him. Somebody was let into that apartment willingly. With evidence of 2 different caliber weapons, immediately I'm thinking we knew we had to solve the mystery of who the shooters were.
Officers were under mounting pressure to solve the case. 2 armed suspects were still on the loose. Investigators began mapping out the scene, reconstructing the timeline of the shooting.
When we have a situation like this, one of the utmost important things to do is a neighborhood canvass. And we have an apartment complex, so that is a big feat to go to each apartment.
With 2 armed suspects still at large, the pressure on investigators kept growing. To piece together what really happened that night, officers began speaking with neighbors. One resident told them she heard 3 to 4 gunshots around 3 a.m., but dismissed the noise as fireworks and went back to sleep. Next, detectives turned to the building manager, who told them things were usually quiet. No recent disputes, no trouble. Everything had seemed normal.
The question of who shot Donovan Barfield was a complete mystery.
With no solid leads, detectives circled back to the 911 caller, Joe, for more answers.
We really wanted to hear from him why someone would do something like this to Donovan.
How long after that did you go?
As soon as I found it.
Now tell me about the buzzer box outside.
It's how I know somebody he knows. Because the only way you can get in the door is if somebody buzz you in the door.
When you go up and
I
just
go up
push
the
the
stairs,
key.
as soon as I stick the key in, the door just opens. I kind of like walked by the couch and he was like under the mattress.
Did you go in the bedroom or anything?
No,
First, we're here to figure out what the hell happened and where we can hopefully get some justice for him. But I feel like maybe you could tell us something about his lifestyle that maybe led up to this.
We had also learned from Joe that Donovan wasn't originally from Lansing.
He from Detroit, you know, he be in a lot of stuff down there, so I don't know if it could be something from there. But as far as like him having problems with somebody or something like that, I ain't never known him to get into it with one person ever.
Okay.
Like he keeps to himself, he a real private person.
Is it possible that Lou was shot with something that was already in the house? Is that a possibility?
Nope, there was no guns ever. I never seen him with a gun. He never carried a gun. Period. He never had any problems with nobody here.
Joe had assured us that in all the time that he knew Donovan, that he wasn't into drugs and didn't have any guns. But we also had the element that Donovan had just moved here. Is this something that happened when he lived in Detroit that would have led to somebody shooting him?
Detectives then reach out to Donovan's mother, hoping to understand his past and gain some clarity.
So in speaking with Donovan's mother, emotions were running high, and she was obviously grieving for her son.
You refer to your son as Lou?
Well, that his friends do. I just call him every now and then. I call him back.
And is there anything in his past that in either Lansing or Detroit that could have led to this?
Because what they told me that he was supposed to be trying to gamble at a friend's house, and she would want him to gamble there, so I don't know if people came to this apartment and gamble. I don't know so that or
What type?
dice.
When Donovan's mother revealed that one of his favorite activities was to shoot dice or play street craps, that caught my attention.
When playing dice, we know that sometimes drugs, guns, those things are involved in that. We started to develop the theory that Donovan's gambling could have led to somebody shooting him because of the nature of the game. We definitely had more digging to do.
The case seemed to be going nowhere until detectives received an unexpected visit from one of Donovan's friends, Anthony Brown.
When interviewing Anthony, didn't seem hesitant at all to talk to us.
Have you ever played dice with Lou before?
Yeah.
Right. He's usually high roller. Yeah.
That's what I would do. I would shoot dice, try to get some money to help out with that.
Okay.
Anthony told officers he used to play dice with Donovan. In fact, the night of the murder, they had run into each other at a friend's party and talked about setting up a game, but it never happened. Detectives began digging deeper into Anthony and Donovan's relationship. For now, Anthony wasn't considered a suspect. He had voluntarily come forward, offering to help. But the question remained, if not Anthony, then who killed Donovan? And more importantly, where were they now? But just as the investigation stalls, detectives receive a surprising phone call days later.
We got a phone call from one of Donovan's family members, and it was revealed at that time that the family member had received a call from a friend of Donovan's, which turned out to be Joe, the roommate, the 911 caller. The family member learned that Joe had set his desktop computer up in the corner of Donovan's bedroom with some software, which caused the computer to start recording upon motion activation in the bedroom. And during that video call, Joe proceeded to show what looked like surveillance video of the homicide suspects inside the bedroom in Donovan's apartment where he was killed. This was the first time we really had any lead of a suspect to follow up on. And we also realized at that point, Joe did not tell us what really happened the morning that he called 911 when he found Donovan. To learn several days after the fact that video evidence had been removed from your homicide scene is very concerning. So we need to get that surveillance video from Joe as fast as we can.
Officers track down Joe, who agrees to come in for a second interview.
I'm not happy at this point with being lied to. So my first goal in speaking with Joe was to figure out if the video is still in existence, that it hadn't been deleted.
This is the moment of truth. We're either giving his family the answers they deserve, we're giving Lou the justice he deserves, or we're giving the middle finger to all of them.
And you hold the key. You hold the key.
You don't have to swear. It always happens. That person always ends up dead.
Give me that video. Give me the truth. Give me the names of the people that are threatening. Give me the name of the people that killed Lou. And I promise you, I'll do my job. Okay, here it is. If I don't get that video, you're gonna be arrested for obstruction. Felony. Okay? It's way too late for that. It's way too late for that. We're here. You did not delete that, did you? It exists, right? The video still exists, right? Did you delete it? You did not delete it. Okay. Thank God.
Joe was very conflicted. He did not want to be seen as being cooperative with police. Ultimately, he did reveal what really happened when he found Donovan, is that he took the computer that captured the video, stashed it at a friend's house, and viewed some of the video, then returned to the scene and then called police. After we knew that the video was still in existence, now I questioned him about where it is. And this was a difficult conversation to get Joe to lead us to where that video was.
There's nothing you can do to change it. Your name's on this. It's what you do now that makes you a man or makes you a punk.
That's when things started coming to light.
At this point, that's all we need. We need that piece. We need that piece of the puzzle right today.
You understand. Your heart's in the right place. Don't you? I just never understand.
We want to meet somebody so they can do
Make the call and come here.
This was the break they'd been waiting for. Officers finally will see the suspects who killed Donovan captured on surveillance footage.
When watching the video, we couldn't believe our eyes.
Now, who's that? So you think there's a third person in the removal?
It's gotta stay in here. If they in the room, where is he at?
One of the subjects was kind of rifling through the room and grabbing items, taking items, moving things around. One of the items that was taken was a leather backpack on the bed in the bedroom. So at one point, this subject turns and faces the camera. We were hopeful that taking a screenshot at this time would lead to an identification of this subject. A second subject with a hood up comes into the view of the camera, and there's what appears to be in his hand a silver-colored semi-automatic handgun. So this subject is also carrying a pair of black and rose gold sneakers.
So we're talking about two guys, not three?
Somebody had to be at least in there with him.
And then in another clip, there was another, possibly a third subject wearing a different set of clothing. At that point, we could be looking at 3 homicide suspects. Unfortunately, in watching this video, we never really see a clear shot of the faces for 2 of the subjects like we did the first subject. Based on the timestamp of the video and the fact that the subjects are in possession of a firearm, we were confident that Donovan was killed around this time.
After viewing the video, it became pretty clear to all of us that this puzzle was far beyond completed. Now, not only do we have 2 suspects out there carrying guns, shooting someone, we now have 3 people. We knew that we had to act immediately.
Even with surveillance footage, officers had no idea who the suspects were or where they might be. That changed with one anonymous call.
We get a Crime Stoppers tip who gives us the name of a Facebook profile and further advises us that they believe the owner of this profile is involved in the murder of Donovan Barfield. We discovered that this profile was linked to a young man named Neil Prince, and we find that Neil Prince is posting photos and trying to sell various items that were taken from this homicide scene, including the Nike Foamposites that were black and rose gold. At this point, this person is considered a homicide suspect, again, because he very closely resembles the person that's on video in this apartment the night that Donovan Barfield was killed. There are still 2 subjects that we have not identified, and with Neil Prince still walking around with evidence of a homicide, we need to get him as fast as possible.
Detectives secured a warrant to search the home of the suspect, Prince. Inside, they found the backpack and sneakers seen in the surveillance footage from Donovan's apartment. Neil Prince was taken into custody and brought in for questioning.
Hey, Mr. Prince. How are you, sir? One leg. Sit up for it. I want to fix this chair so you can sit on it. Okay. Understand that just didn't keep your name out of that. We have information available to us that we think that you have some knowledge about that incident that you can share with us. Okay.
Okay, I will tell you there was surveillance footage in the apartment. You were on the surveillance footage. You realize that? I'm not. So that I'm giving you an opportunity to tell us what happened. No.
Despite being seen on surveillance footage and caught with items stolen from Donovan's apartment, Neil Prince denied ever being there. He was taken into custody, but the case was far from over. 2 suspects were still on the loose, armed, dangerous, and unaccounted for. Were they hiding or already hunting for their next target? As officers struggled to track down their other 2 suspects, they learned of a familiar name just taken into custody, Anthony Brown. He'd been arrested during a routine traffic stop carrying a 9mm pistol. When officers checked the weapon, it matched the one seen in the surveillance footage from Donovan's apartment. Officers brought Anthony in for questioning. This time, the pressure was intense, but no matter how hard they pushed, he didn't say a word.
Still would not disclose anything about the homicide. He offered an alibi. So at that point is when we had to go check the alibi out. And unfortunately for him, his alibi witness did not share the same story. Now we have 2 suspects in custody for the homicide of Donovan Barfield, but we still had a 3rd suspect out on the loose, and we did not know who had pulled the trigger.
Then, nearly 3 months after Donovan's murder, a young man named Willie Fletcher comes into the station with his lawyer and a shocking story to tell.
This juvenile was willing to share intimate knowledge about the homicide for some type of deal for him. During that interview, we learned indeed that he was the 3rd person. He gave us a play-by-play of the night of Donovan Barfield's death. He tells us that Anthony is the mastermind of this whole situation. Anthony told the juvenile as well as Neil that, hey, I know a guy. He carries a lot of money. I was playing dice with him earlier. We're going to rob Donovan Barfield of his money. And the juvenile said, Anthony told us that I already set up the dice game. He's waiting for us. The juvenile says he had a gun. Anthony had a gun. Anthony gives the juvenile an instruction to shoot him, and the juvenile shoots Donovan from behind. The juvenile tells us that he was so scared that he almost dropped the gun. Anthony then went up to Donovan and shot him 2 more times in the head. And the juvenile said, I didn't want to be there anymore. I didn't want to be part of this. Anthony threatened me. Anthony said if I ever said anything that he was going to kill my parents. So I knew that in order to survive, I needed to continue with what we were doing. And that's when we stole all those items and drove back to the house. And we didn't really, nobody really else said anything about it.
Neil Prince and Anthony Brown were both found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Willie Fletcher received 60 years, with the chance of parole after 28. Justice was served, but the scars of that night in Lansing would never fully fade.
At the end of the day, we can't bring Donovan Barfield back, but we did get justice. But that doesn't excuse or doesn't change the fact that it was a tragic loss. And another young man lost his life to something so senseless by 3 other young men that will never see any other place in their life besides these brick walls.